Quick question. If your income stopped tonight, how many days would pass before your life started falling apart? Do not say the number, just hold it in your mind. Now the harder question. If your income doubled next month, would that number actually double? Or would your lifestyle expand until you felt trapped again? That gap is the psychology of money. Some people turn ordinary incomes into freedom. Others turn extraordinary incomes into pressure. And by the end of this video, you will know which of 7 invisible money games you are playing, and which one may be quietly stealing years of your life. Introduction. Money is more personal than mathematical. Welcome to Rare Mind Audio, where we turn powerful books into clear ideas you can use. Today's book is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Across 19 short stories, Housel argues that doing well with money is not only about knowledge, it is about how you behave when the future is uncertain, emotions are active, and other people appear to be moving faster. This matters because your most important money decisions do not happen in a calm classroom. They happen when a market is falling, a friend is celebrating a promotion, an advertisement is making you feel behind, or a sudden expense is threatening the plan you thought was safe. A spreadsheet can tell you what is mathematically efficient. It cannot tell you whether you will panic, become greedy, chase status, or abandon a good plan because someone else is winning for the moment. So, this is not a video about finding the perfect investment or becoming rich overnight. It is about creating a mind that can handle money without being controlled by it. And I want you to do more than listen. Create a private scorecard in your head. Start at 0. During this video, I will ask you 7 questions. Every time your honest answer is yes, add 1 point. Do not judge the number and do not share it with anyone. This is not a test of intelligence. It is a map of the places where your money may be controlling your behavior. We'll move through the book's most useful ideas as a personal journey. You will meet the version of you shaped by childhood, the version tempted by comparison, the version that panics when a plan becomes uncertain, and finally, the version that can use money to buy something far more valuable than status: control over your own time. This is independent commentary, not a replacement for Housel's complete work. Stay with me, and you will leave with a practical framework for calmer, stronger decisions. Part 1. Why reasonable people make different money decisions. Imagine 2 people discussing risk. One grew up in a stable home, watched the value of long-term investments rise, and never experienced unemployment. The other watched a parent lose a job, saw debt create constant tension, and remembers every purchase being treated like a threat. Give them the same opportunity, and they may react completely differently. The first sees potential. The second sees danger. Neither reaction is random. Each person is using a different emotional map. This is one of the book's most important ideas. Your personal experience of the world is powerful, but incomplete. The economy is larger than any individual life, yet your beliefs are built from the small portion of history you witnessed. Someone shaped by a booming market might trust risk. Someone shaped by a crisis might prize safety. Someone raised around business owners might see entrepreneurship as normal. Someone raised around unstable income might see a fixed salary as freedom. The mistake is not having a perspective. Everyone has one. The mistake is believing your perspective is the whole truth. This explains why financial arguments become so emotional. People appear to be debating numbers, but they are often defending their memories. One person hears the word debt and thinks leverage. Another hears the same word and remembers fear at the dinner table. The practical lesson is humility. Before judging another person's financial choice, ask what life may have taught them. Before trusting your own instinct, ask which experience created it. Was it a lasting principle or a temporary condition that happened to dominate your formative years? This does not mean every financial choice is equally wise. It means behavior becomes easier to understand when you see the history underneath. Try this exercise. Write down your earliest strong memory involving money. Perhaps it was receiving an allowance, hearing an argument about bills, buying something with your first salary, or watching an adult lose money. Then ask, what rule did I silently create from that moment? Maybe the rule was money disappears. Maybe it was successful people always look expensive. Maybe it was investing is gambling. Or my worth depends on how much I earn. That hidden rule may still be making decisions for you. Scorecard question 1. Have you ever rejected a useful money decision mainly because it felt unfamiliar or frightening, even when the evidence supported it? If yes, add 1 point. And keep that childhood rule in mind. We're going to meet it again when the pressure rises. Part 2. Skill matters, but luck and risk never disappear. When success arrives, the mind wants a clean explanation. We prefer stories in which good decisions create good outcomes, and bad decisions create bad outcomes. Those stories feel fair. They also make the world feel controllable. Real life is messier. Effort, intelligence, patience, and discipline matter, but timing, opportunity, health, geography, family, regulation, competition, and random events matter too. Housel asks us to hold 2 ideas at once. Personal responsibility is important, and outcomes are never entirely personal. Luck is the force that helps an outcome beyond what your actions alone deserved. Risk is the force that hurts an outcome despite reasonable actions. They are mirror images. This is not an excuse for passivity. It is a warning against arrogance and harsh judgment. Suppose an entrepreneur launches a good product just as a new platform makes distribution cheap. The founder may be talented and hardworking, but the timing created an advantage that could not be fully planned. Another founder may build an equally good product just before a recession destroys demand. The failure doesn't prove stupidity any more than the success proves perfection. If you ignore luck, you may copy the most visible details of a successful person's life and miss the conditions that made those details work. If you ignore risk, you may treat every failure as evidence of bad character and learn the wrong lesson. A stronger approach is to study patterns rather than idols. One success story is a sample of one. Look for principles that survive across people and periods: spending less than you earn, Advent idols, avoiding ruin, building useful skills, protecting your reputation, controlling costs, and allowing time to work. They are less dramatic and more repeatable. There is another benefit to respecting luck and risk. It improves your emotional balance. When things go well, humility prevents confidence from turning into recklessness. You can say, "I made several good decisions, and some conditions also helped me." That sentence protects you from assuming every future bet will succeed. When things go badly, perspective prevents disappointment from becoming self-destruction. You can say, "I should learn honestly from my mistakes, but not every part of this outcome was under my control." That sentence leaves room to begin again. The rare mind rule here is simple. Take responsibility for your process, but never pretend you control every outcome. Now think about your last financial win. Did you assume the result proved that your method was brilliant? Or your last loss, did you treat it as proof that you were a failure? Scorecard question 2. Have you confused one outcome with the quality of your entire process? If yes, add 1 point. And the next trap is even more personal, because it may make every achievement feel strangely empty. Part 3. The most dangerous number is more. What amount of money would make you feel successful? Many people answer with a number, but when they reach it, the number changes. The mind adapts quickly. A salary that once represented freedom becomes ordinary. A home that once felt luxurious becomes the minimum standard. A social circle changes, and suddenly people with more expensive lives become the new reference point. The problem is not ambition. Wanting improvement can be healthy. The problem is a finish line that moves every time you approach it. Housel explores the idea of enough, the ability to recognize when the reward offered by more is no longer worth the risk required to obtain it. Without a definition of enough, comparison becomes endless, and endless comparison can make a person risk what is essential for something unnecessary. Think about the trade. You may risk your health to earn money you do not need. Risk your reputation for a faster result. Risk a strong relationship to protect an image. Risk years of security because a modest gain feels insulting next to someone else's spectacular gain. The world will always contain someone richer, younger, luckier, or more visible. If your sense of success depends on defeating every person above you, peace becomes mathematically impossible. Enough is not surrender, it is a boundary. A climber who knows where to stop is not weak. The climber understands that reaching a higher point is meaningless if the next step destroys the ability to return home. Create 3 definitions of enough. Lifestyle enough. What supports a good life without becoming a performance? Security enough. What reserve, protection, and income stability would let you sleep? Achievement enough. Which goals genuinely belong to you rather than the people you want to impress? These numbers and boundaries can change as your responsibilities change. The point is not to freeze your life. The point is to prevent desire from expanding unconsciously. If you do not decide what enough means, advertisers, algorithms, and other people's lifestyles will decide for you. Here is a 5-second test. Think of the last major goal you reached. Did you enjoy it, or did your mind immediately replace it with a larger one? Scorecard question 3. Has your definition of success moved upward without your permission? If yes, add 1 point. You may not have an income problem, you may have a finish line problem. Part 4. Wealth is the part you cannot see. We usually notice money when it has been spent. We see the car, the watch, the holiday, the large home, and the carefully staged restaurant table. We do not see the bank balance after the purchase. We do not see the loan, the monthly obligation, and the anxiety behind the image. This creates a strange illusion. The visible evidence of spending is often mistaken for evidence of wealth. But spending money to look wealthy reduces the money you have. Housel makes a useful distinction between being rich and being wealthy. Richness is often connected to current income, the ability to buy expensive things now. Wealth is accumulated financial capacity that has not yet been spent. It is the reserve that gives you options later. Wealth is quiet. It may exist as savings, investments, low debt, or the ability to survive months without income. None of it attracts attention in a photograph. This is why learning wealth by imitation is difficult. You can copy what a person buys, but you cannot see what the person chose not to buy. Imagine 2 high earners. The first turns every promotion into a new monthly payment. The second enjoys life but preserves a gap between earnings and spending. The first may look more successful. The second has more control. That gap between income and ego is where wealth begins. Saving is not only preparation for a specific purchase, it is the purchase of flexibility. A reserve allows you to leave a harmful job, handle a family emergency, wait for a better opportunity, or make a decision without desperation. The value of savings is therefore larger than the number in the account. It changes the quality of your choices. This idea is especially important when income rises. Many people ask, what can I upgrade? A better first question is, how much freedom can I preserve? You do not need to reject every pleasure. Money should support life, but distinguish between pleasure and proof. Pleasure serves your experience. Proof is purchased to manage someone else's opinion. Before a large purchase, ask 3 questions. Would I still want this if nobody could see it? What future obligation comes with it? And how much flexibility am I exchanging for it? Sometimes the purchase will still be worth it. The goal is not guilt. The goal is awareness. Let's make this uncomfortable. Picture the most expensive, non-essential thing you want right now. Remove every logo. Remove the possibility of posting it. Remove the chance that another person will notice it. Do you still want it as much? Scorecard question 4. Have you recently spent money for proof rather than pleasure? If yes, add 1 point. No shame, just notice how quickly someone else's attention can become one of your largest expenses. Part 5. Compounding rewards endurance, not excitement. Compounding is usually explained as a financial formula. Returns begin earning returns, and growth accelerates over long periods. But the deeper lesson is behavioral. Compounding only becomes powerful when you give it time, and giving it time requires you to remain in the game. People naturally search for the highest return, yet a spectacular strategy that you cannot maintain may be less useful than a reasonable strategy you can follow for decades. Consider 2 paths. One is aggressive, complex, and emotionally exhausting. It produces strong results for several years, then a severe mistake wipes out the progress. The other is slower and less impressive, but it survives bad markets, personal emergencies, and changes in fashion. The second path may win because it lasts. Housel's discussion of compounding is not an invitation to assume markets will always deliver a particular result. No return is guaranteed. The lesson is that time can become a major advantage only when your plan is durable enough to experience it. This applies beyond investing. A skill practiced weekly becomes rare. A reputation built through reliable actions becomes an asset. A small audience served consistently can become a business. The visible breakthrough is often the final stage of invisible accumulation. The difficulty is boredom. Good compounding frequently looks unimpressive in the beginning. Progress is too small to display. Then people abandon the process and chase something more dramatic. This is where temperament matters more than cleverness. Choose a financial system you can maintain during ordinary months and frightening months. Automate useful behavior where possible. Keep costs understandable. Avoid building a plan that depends on perfect predictions. And measure progress over a period long enough to reduce the emotional power of a single week or year. Patience does not mean doing nothing. It means continuing to do the important things without demanding constant excitement as proof that they are working. And this is the point where many good plans die, not during a disaster, but during a boring Tuesday when nothing seems to be happening. Scorecard question 5. Have you abandoned a reasonable long-term plan mainly because another option looked faster or more exciting? If yes, add 1 point. Remember, the plan that looks slow may be the only one patient enough to finish. Part 6. Survival is the foundation of every long-term plan. To benefit from time, you must survive uncertainty. That sounds obvious, but many plans are designed as if life will follow the expected path. Income will continue, expenses will remain predictable, markets will behave normally, health will remain stable, the opportunity will arrive on schedule. Then reality interrupts. Housel emphasizes room for error, the distance between what you expect to happen and what you can withstand if you are wrong. Room for error is not pessimism. It is the practical recognition that forecasts are fragile. If your monthly lifestyle consumes almost every unit of income, a small disruption becomes an emergency. If an investment plan only works under optimistic assumptions, an ordinary disappointment can destroy it. If a business has no cash buffer, a short delay can become a permanent failure. The goal is not to predict every problem. The goal is to avoid a situation in which one problem ends the game. Build room for error in several forms. Keep a reserve appropriate to your circumstances. Avoid payments that leave no breathing space. Do not expose money needed soon to risks you do not understand. Maintain skills and relationships that help if your path changes. Be careful with any decision requiring the future to be nearly perfect. Room for error may look inefficient during good times. Cash may earn less, protection may feel unnecessary, and a moderate lifestyle can look conservative. But efficiency and resilience are different goals. A bridge built only for an average day is not a good bridge. Your financial life should also handle unusual stress. This leads to another important distinction: being rational versus being reasonable. A mathematically optimized plan may demand more emotional discipline than a real person can sustain. A reasonable plan accepts that you need sleep, confidence, and simplicity. The best plan is not merely the one with the strongest theoretical result, it is the one you can actually follow. If a slightly more conservative choice keeps you calm enough to avoid a disastrous decision, that emotional benefit is real, even if a spreadsheet cannot display it perfectly. Now return to the number you imagined at the beginning, the days your life could continue if income stopped. That number is not just a savings number, it is your current room for error. Scorecard question 6. Does your financial life require next month to go almost perfectly? If yes, add 1 point. This is not a reason to panic. It is the clearest signal of what to strengthen first. Part 7. The highest return on money is control over time. If wealth is invisible and enough creates a boundary, what is money ultimately for? Housel's most human answer is freedom, the ability to gain more control over what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and with whom. This does not require complete retirement or unlimited wealth. Freedom exists in degrees. An emergency fund can give you time to search for a better job. Low fixed expenses can let you refuse a harmful client. Savings can allow you to care for a parent, move to a safer city, or take a month to recover from exhaustion. A modest financial cushion can turn an order into a choice. That is a return you can feel every day. The irony is that people sometimes sacrifice nearly all control over their time in order to purchase symbols of success. They earn more but become less free because the lifestyle requires constant maintenance. This does not mean high ambition is wrong. It means the purpose of ambition should be examined. Ask yourself, is my money system increasing my options or only increasing my obligations? Another part of freedom is playing your own game. People have different goals and time horizons. Trouble begins when you copy someone whose game you do not understand. A confident person online may be able to absorb a loss you cannot. Someone reaching a milestone faster may have a different starting point. An aggressive strategy may suit money needed in 5 years, but endanger money you need next year. Define your game before choosing your moves. What is the money for? When will it be needed? What loss could you tolerate financially and emotionally? Which responsibilities cannot be placed at risk? What does success look like in your actual life? When those answers are clear, other people's behavior becomes less distracting. Money becomes powerful when it helps you live deliberately, not when it forces you to perform someone else's definition of success. So imagine 2 buttons. Button 1 gives you a more impressive lifestyle but less control over your week. Button 2 gives you a quieter lifestyle, but more control over your mornings, your work, and the people who receive your time. Which one have your recent decisions been pressing? Scorecard question 7. Are your financial choices creating more obligations faster than they create options? If yes, add your final point. Keep the total. We will use it in a moment. Part 8. What this book does not solve. No financial philosophy is complete without limits. Before we turn your score into action, one honest correction is necessary. Psychology is powerful, but it is not magic. Behavior matters, but it is not the only force shaping wealth. Income, education, healthcare, discrimination, family responsibilities, geography, and economic shocks can expand or restrict choice. Patience does not remove a structural barrier, and advice to save does not create spare income where none exists. The value of Housel's framework is that psychology explains what we do with the choices we actually have. This distinction prevents two bad conclusions. The first is fatalism. My circumstances matter, so my decisions do not. The second is blame. Decisions matter, so every struggling person caused their situation. Both are too simple. A mature view recognizes circumstances without surrendering agency. Improve what you can control, build useful skills, and seek better information while remaining honest about real constraints. The book also does not provide a detailed investment plan for every country or life stage. Tax rules, retirement systems, inflation, products, and legal protections differ. For specific decisions, use qualified local advice and independent research. What the book offers is a mental operating system, humility, patience, resilience, self-knowledge, and a clearer definition of enough. Here's the useful distinction. Ask of any money problem, is this mainly a behavior problem, an information problem, an income problem, or a structural problem? If it's a behavior, redesign the habit. If it's information, learn or seek qualified advice. If it's income, focus on skills, negotiation, opportunity, or additional earning capacity. If it's structural, don't turn a real barrier into private shame. Find support, protection, or a different route. The strongest strategy begins with naming the correct problem. The Rare Mind Money System. 7 rules to use now. Now look at your private score. 0 to 2 means your largest risks may be less obvious. 3 to 4 suggests that invisible habits are consuming flexibility. 5 to 7 means money may be directing more behavior than you realized. This is not a diagnosis, and it is not a reason to feel bad. It's a map. A high score is useful because the hidden problem is no longer hidden. Let's turn that map into 7 practical rules. Rule 1. Uncover your money story. Identify the experiences that shaped your beliefs. Write down the financial rule you learned from each one. Then ask whether that rule is universally true, occasionally useful, or no longer serving you. Rule 2. Measure the process, not only the outcome. You cannot control every result. You can control whether you researched the decision, understood the downside, avoided unnecessary concentration, kept costs reasonable, and acted consistent with your goal. A good outcome can follow a bad process, and a bad outcome can follow a reasonable process. Learn to tell the difference. Rule 3. Write your definition of enough. Choose a lifestyle ceiling, a security target, and a personal meaning of success. Revisit them when your life genuinely changes, not every time you see someone richer. Rule 4. Build the invisible gap. When income rises, don't automatically raise every expense. preserve part of the difference. That gap becomes savings, resilience, and future choice. You don't need to look wealthy to become financially stronger. Rule 5. Choose a plan you can survive. Favor consistency over drama. Don't depend on constant optimism, perfect timing, or emotional superpowers. A plan that lets you sleep and continue is more valuable than one you abandon during the first serious test. Rule 6. Purchase room for error. Create buffers in cash flow, time, debt, and expectations. Ask, if I'm wrong, can I recover? Avoid risks that can permanently remove you from the game. Rule 7. Convert money into control over time. Before making a major financial decision, ask whether it expands your future options or creates another obligation. The purpose of money is not simply to own more, it is to help you make more of your life your own. Don't try to change all 7 rules tomorrow. Choose the question that felt most uncomfortable. That discomfort is probably pointing towards your first move. Review the rules monthly. Track one useful change, a belief questioned, a process improved, a comparison rejected, a gap preserved, a buffer strengthened, or an hour of freedom regained. Money becomes useful when it stops being a scoreboard and starts becoming a tool. And perhaps the rarest financial skill is this: building a life you do not need to escape from, and knowing when you already have enough to begin living it. If this idea changed the way you see money, subscribe to Rare Mind Audio. Here, we explore the books that sharpen how you think about money, mind, power, and life. Until next time, protect your attention, play your own game, and let your decisions become quieter than your ambitions and stronger than your emotions.